Do you remember the terrifying, creepy nursery rhymes or children's tales from your childhood? You know, those with dark and evil undertones, like Grimm's fairy tales? I mean, it pretty much says it in their name, Grimm. So according to Merriam-Webster, Grimm means fierce in action or savage. Savage brothers indeed. Why would we leave these savage stories in our children's minds at night before they go to sleep? Why do you think most children have nightmares? Could these bedtime stories have anything to do with it? And what's worse, we know that there is more truth in these tales than not. Grimm's fairy tales, in light of what we now know were Nazi occult practices, shows a more clear, horrifying history of Germany, the setting for most of these dark childhood tales, and further explains why Hitler so praised these savage brothers' tales from the crypt. And interestingly, as I was researching this topic, I thought I would walk us through this info as I came across it. Most know that Kinder und Hausmärchen, the original title of this book of tales, was written by the brothers Grimm, Jacob and Wilhelm, and first published in 1812. The first thing that caught my attention as I was scrolling past the obvious info was this article listed by UNESCO in its Memory of the World Registry. And of course, I had to ask why. Not only why was their work registered here, but what is it and what does that mean? This website, the National Endowment for the Humanities, and if you're familiar with endowments, you know only the wealthy, elite bloodline families could have created this. The magazine for this organization is Humanities, and as you can see here, the title of their article is How the Grimm Brothers Saved the Fairy Tale. Besides the obvious occult symbols in this cover picture, let me point out the highlights I found, and for time purposes, I'll keep it brief. First, this is where UNESCO reveals the listing of the Grimm brothers' work in its World Register. The brothers were allegedly librarians who received their degrees at the University of Marburg in Germany, strangely while they were still teenagers. And even more strange or peculiar was their founding of the German dictionary in 1854, which means they were deciding the etymology of words as they were used for the German language during that time period. This website goes so far as to say their collection of tales were to be considered an educational manual. And I have to say, of what? The dark arts? So what is UNESCO? No surprise here, but that's an acronym of the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. The UN, or United Nations, is specifically behind this, along with the creators of the endowments. These elite globalists, funders of the endowments, worshippers of the occult, who make their dark presence known, pushing a global agenda, are the real deciders of what is heritage or not. Why do you think these dark, horrid childhood tales are so important for preservation and exalted by these globalists, or should I say occultists? Are they tied to the truth of these evil tales, especially considering what we know now? These international organizations, committees, and foundations created by these elites are just fronts. So is the UN, to implement their projects on a global scale against individuals like us. And by projects, I mean deciding what artifacts may or may not be destroyed, kept, or used for such purposes as controlling the masses. I hope you're beginning to see, just like I have, just how exhaustive the research is and how one topic leads to so many other topics and the entities behind them. Are these dark tales from the Savage Brothers real? Are they telling the true dark history of those wealthy, elite bloodline families who lived in Germany and performed many occult rituals, the roots of this evil that produced Hitler and the Nazi regime? This evil that continues to this day through the Nazi relocation program to the U.S. at the end of World War II, known as Operation Paperclip? Surely the answer must be obvious. The truth is most certainly stranger than fiction.